or Hi, I'm Poet Danny Queen, and welcome to another exciting edition of Color Me Poetry. Today we have a young lady with us here, beautiful young lady, in the person of Miss Stephanie White, and she's an author of the highest degree. Welcome, Stephanie. Welcome to Color Me Poetry.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. Let's talk about your writing career. How'd you get into writing? How'd you write this book?
Well, this career actually started for me in 2015. I started journaling my thoughts and just different memories I had from my childhood. And as I began to speak more and more with people about their story, I said
Yes.
to myself, you know what? You really need to get your story out here.
So you started journaling.
Yeah, I
Oh,
started
wow.
journaling, and that was a big, that was advice to me from my aunt.
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, why journaling? Is there a healing process? Well, most writing is a healing process of some sort. So journaling got you really into the story of, into writing.
Yes, it did. Was always a person who liked to get my thoughts down on paper, so it was natural for me to journal anything that kind of came to mind, because literally, if you don't write it down, you lose it.
You lose it.
And it's hard
Yeah.
to get back in that space to where you are thinking those same thoughts again.
So journaling was an impetus to get you to where you are now.
Yes, yes. I can honestly
So
say that.
when do you journal? When did you journal? Oh, you still journal?
I still journal because I am working on another project now, but whenever it comes to me, sometimes I can be about to go to bed and there's some thoughts that come to me like, oh, I need to get that down, and then I don't have a sheet of paper, so I grab my cell phone because we have notes in there, so I just put the notes down.
Wow.
And so I try to keep something with me at work.
At all times?
Yes, because the minute
Yes.
it goes, that's it.
When it's gone, it's gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, and I've had that happen. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get it back. So, I just try to make sure that I'm able to write down the thoughts.
But that can happen anywhere.
I know.
You could be driving, at work, eat lunch, just jot down things that come to you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's a matter of me just being present in a certain space. Now, if I'm at work working, generally things don't kind of come. But if I'm just kind of sitting at home.
They could, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
If I'm kind of just sitting at home or I'm thinking about something or a situation, a lot of information kind of comes to me then.
That way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Home,
wow.
by water, because I love water. So
Oh, really? You love water?
I love being by water.
Now, you eat no Pisces or nothing, don't you?
No, I'm a Leo.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm messing with you. Yeah, that fire.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Very territorial. I can
Now,
visit that.
I met you through your aunt.
Yes.
And
my
what's her
aunt-
name? I forgot her name.
My aunt, yes, the lovely Miss Barbara Smalley.
I know. You know her. How could I forget Barbara's name?
Yes.
No, she's a Libra. She's a Libra Virgo.
Yeah.
On that cuff. Yeah.
September.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
deal with that Libra part. But a Virgo keep me walking a tightrope. Matter of fact, it keep everybody walking a tightrope. It's
I
beautiful
agree.
though.
Yes.
Beautiful. Now, I met your Aunt Barb in the school system, in the PG school system some years ago. And I just come to the school. And somebody told me, well, there's a teacher upstairs and she's a poet. I'm like, a teacher? That's a poet, okay. And I went up and met her, and it was just beautiful, because it was like we were soulmates in that sense, because we talked, but it was almost like I had met her before, like I'd already known her, or like I had known her for years.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of energy we've always had,
The
And
kindred
it's
spirit.
Kindred Spirit, yeah.
And that's the name of her book, I think.
Ken and Kindred Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful book. But let's talk about your book here and
Yes.
how this process worked for you. And then
Yeah.
we'll get into the story of the book. So how did the writing process work for you? When you actually, because you started journaling.
Yes.
And then when you actually got into, did you have to put it together like a puzzle, all these different notes that you had been taking all the time?
Yes. So what I then did was, it's interesting how it happened. I was on my social media one day, and I had met this gentleman by the name of Matthew Warren.
Now first, let's get the name of the book again. A Thousand Miles.
Yes, 1,000 Miles in My Shoes is the name of
Wow.
my book.
Mhm.
One woman's journey from a shattered life to an authentic self-discovery.
Mhm.
So
Beautiful title.
That's a memoir.
A beautiful cover. We'll get into that. But you met Matthew.
Yes, I met him about 2 years prior. I met him roughly in 2015, 2014, and he was
Okay.
actually at a natural hair show that I was at, and he was doing a tabling event. So I just
Okay.
thought that he was an author.
Mm-hmm.
So when I just happened to be going down my Facebook feed,
Mhm.
I saw that he was a publisher. And I
Oh.
had been praying to God. I was like, Lord, I cannot write this book the traditional way. I'm looking for a process that will get this done quicker for me because
Mhm.
I didn't have the time. I was working full time. I have a business, so I was busy.
And you didn't have time to do the self-publishing thing. Yeah, it's time consuming. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was praying for a solution, and all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh. So I reached out to him.
Mm.
And when I reached out to him, he provided me with a timeline.
Mhm.
And then, of course, naturally, you want things to kind of go in some type of order anyway.
Well, yeah, of course.
So I started writing my book, just thinking about how I would like to grab readers' attention as I got started with the story. And then
Wow.
that also helped me put things into the order that I want them to be received.
And that took a while.
That did.
That was a process.
It was a process.
Yes.
It didn't take too long because I'm one of those people, once I get to work, I get to work. And the minute somebody kind of like
Mhm.
takes me out of my zone, okay,
Yes.
now it takes me a minute to get back there.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I say, you got to get this done.
But it's a matter of focus too, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely is a matter of
Focus, yeah.
Yes.
And I always say faith, focus, and follow through. Those three things will take you to the mountaintop, you know?
Yes, I like that.
Faith, focus, and follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have another one, the piece I wrote called I Am, I Can, and I Will. When I look at your accomplishment and what you've done with this book, Stephanie, I say, I am, I can, and I will. And that's where you have to look at it.
Yes,
Because sometimes you have to motivate yourself.
exactly.
Hmm. So the writing process, it took you from beginning to end.
Yes, I started journaling in 2015, but when I actually started the process of putting the book together, where I started working with the publishing company,
Yes.
it took me 7 months.
Oh, wow. Wow. So, yeah, so that was part of the process, yes.
Yes.
Now, working with a publisher, which I've never done, because I've always been my own, what's that like for you?
It was an experience, a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
He was very instrumental in just kind of checking to see, hey, Stephanie, how's the progress going? How's this going? Hey, if I have questions, I was able to call them up and ask them. If I had questions in regards to, like, my outline or how I need to finish it or how I need to send it to him, he was
Yes.
very welcoming
Mm-hmm.
when I had questions.
And instrumental. In
Yes.
beautiful process.
And so I'd say that working with the publishing company was good. It was a good experience. I was able to lean on the publishing company in
Yes.
terms of like, okay, is my book ready? What's going on with this? Like there was a lot of
There was-
emails back and forth with the back cover, with how I wanted the chapters to look and everything. And I am music is therapeutic to me.
Yes, it is. I love music, being a musician myself.
So
Yes.
when you read my book,
Mhm.
you will see that each chapter
Mhm.
is,
It's lyrical?
yeah, in a sense where it's each of my chapters are a different song and a different artist.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
So it
Now,
was-
speaking of that, because you said that, now, who are some of your favorite artists?
I am a big fan of the late Whitney Houston.
Oh, yes, no question. Yes.
I am a big fan of the late Aretha Franklin, who I mentioned
Yes.
in my book.
Mhm.
I'm
The Queen.
Yes, I
Yes.
am a great fan of the late Aaliyah, who is
Aaliyah,
also
yes, I
mentioned
love
in my
Aaliyah
book.
too. Rock the boat.
Yes, I have a little some old school in there.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Um,
So you like a lot of different people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a nice mixture.
Mhm.
I like Dave Matthews Band.
Oh, yeah.
A little
Love
bit
Dave
of
Matthews.
instruments. I'm big on instruments. I love jazz. Jazz.
That's what I was going to ask you. What about jazz?
I love jazz. Instrumental
Jazz.
music.
You
and
love
then
instrumental?
Yes.
Wow.
So
That's
when I
beautiful.
was a kid, I used to play the piano for like a hot second. But,
Really? You didn't stick with it?
Yeah, I did not. And
Wow.
that taught me a lesson because my aunt
Mhm.
said to me, Stephanie, you
Yeah.
never start something in life and not
And leave
finish
it hanging. Yeah.
And that stuck with
You
me.
know, if I start stuff and don't finish it, it kind of bothers me, you know?
Yeah.
I ain't no Gemini. I go from one thing, jump from one thing to the next. No, if I start a project
Mhm.
and don't finish it, that's why whatever I start, I finish because it bothered me because I
Yeah.
felt like I took the time in the beginning to start this project, then it must be worth finishing.
Exactly,
So
I
the thing
agree.
is to finish it.
Yes.
Yeah, finish what you start, and that's the beautiful thing of it, you know, to
Exactly.
complete it and move on to the next level.
Exactly.
Yeah, next project, you know.
Yes.
So right, and then you can say, I've been there, done that. Let me move on.
Exactly.
If I'm gonna do it again, let me take it to the next level.
Mhm.
And that's the beautiful thing of all of it. But writing for you, but I thought it was so interesting when you talk about how your chapters are set up, though. That's
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Mm.
I mentioned
Different.
very different, and
Yes.
I kind of went all over the place with different
Mhm.
genres and different artists.
Mhm.
I have some Alanis Morissette in there. I have.
But all of it had to fit into
Oh, yeah.
the theme of the story.
It did.
To help. So
In
it's
each
helping you.
chapter.
Each chapter.
Uh-huh.
Let's give me an example.
Example.
Yeah, in the book,
Okay.
like
All right.
like one of the chapters.
Okay.
And if you like, you can do reading if you like. Once we get, talk about the story.
Sure. All right. So, let's see. The epilogue
Mm-hmm.
is titled "Masterpiece"
Mm-hmm.
by Mona Lisa. Masterpiece Mona Lisa by Jasmine Sullivan.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And this song
Mm-hmm.
is pretty much where a woman at one time looks at herself as being this dull and ugly
Mm-hmm.
person, and she's finally at the place in her life where she sees that she's a masterpiece.
Mm.
So that's the last chapter of my book.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's the last chapter.
Yes.
Wow. So what's the first chapter?
The first chapter is, let's
Mhm.
see here.
Wow. It's beautiful the way you put that together.
Thank you. I actually ended up going with, this is actually the very beginning of the
Mhm.
prologue, is Out of Breath.
Out
And
of
it's
Breath.
actually by Silver Pickups. So it's a nice rock band. But
Wow.
it
I
kind
don't
of,
know that, but hey, it's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of creates this drama,
Mhm.
bringing
Wow.
people into
Now,
the story.
why'd you approach it that way? That's very unique.
I have a creative mind, and
Yeah.
I knew that didn't want
I
this
think I know
book-
where it comes from too. Aunt Bob.
Yes. Oh my
It's in the
gosh.
blood, y'all.
Oh man, I didn't want this book to just be
Mhm.
any old type of book.
Right.
I wanted it to speak volumes of the type of person that I am
Mhm.
and what I love.
Mhm.
And I wanted people to see this book as a masterpiece in a sense and a soundtrack to my life. Because each
Wow.
song,
Right.
I have a lot of the songs on my
Mhm.
playlist and
Mhm.
they're in this book.
That's I love that. I mean, I've never had anybody come in who approached writing that way. The inspiration from music in that sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
It
That's-
took some
it's
time,
beautiful.
a lot of research, because I had to make sure that it was the right song.
You know that? Well, yeah, it has to fit
Mhm.
the situation. That's interesting because my new book coming out is called The Book of Tributes, and I deal with tributes to many different people in sports and politics and music and literature, in probably I think like 8 different areas, and I pay tribute to all these people. Like Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin. I got to show you my Aretha Franklin piece too. Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
I've written pieces for all these people. And then, of course, the next book that I have coming out later this year is called Life in Full Circle, and it's astrological love signs. I deal with the love signs. Yeah, but that's a whole nother thing there. We'll get
Wow.
into that another time.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it is indeed. Indeed. But what you have here is this, to me, is unique. Now let's talk about the story.
Yeah, so let's dig into the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so as mentioned, this book is a memoir of my life,
Mhm.
and it goes over a span of 30 years. It starts when I was
Wow.
5 years old and goes
Mm.
all the way up to age 35 for me.
Wow. So you're 35 now.
I'll be 37 this year. So it actually goes all the way to last year, actually.
Mm-hmm.
35, when I was 35, and then I turned 36.
Look like you're 26.
Right? Well, thank you. And so well,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about me. When I was 5 years old,
Yes.
my family was in a very bad car accident
Mm-hmm.
in Baltimore County
Okay.
back in 1987. And we were hit by a drunk driver, and they killed my mother and my oldest sister.
Oh, God. Mm.
So my
Oh,
parents
that's
had
it.
3 girls.
Mhm.
So when my mom and my oldest sister were killed, it left me and my younger sister. And we
Wow.
were on our way to pick my dad up from work. And at the time, he worked at Jessup Correctional Institution.
Mhm.
And so it was like 11 o'clock, 11:30 in the evening. It was October 28th, 1987.
And you only 5.
I was 5.
Wow. Mm.
And so
Mm.
after that, it was trying to pick up the pieces.
Mhm.
My sister, who was at the time turning 2, she had a lot of brain damage from the car accident.
Wow.
So she never regained,
Consciousness?
she never regained being able to talk like you and I.
Oh, okay.
She always had the mind of a 2-year-old.
Wow. Mm.
And so she spent a lot of time at Johns Hopkins.
Mhm.
Then she went to Kennedy Krieger Institute.
Mhm.
And she went through a lot of rehab because she had to learn how to walk. They were teaching her how to bathe herself. They were teaching her all the different skills that at 2 she wouldn't have known because she was a baby.
Mhm.
But it was just, it was almost like they were trying to teach her something that her parents
How
wouldn't.
old was she at this point?
At the accident?
Yes.
2.
Mhm. No, I'm saying by the time they were teaching her all the.
She was maybe 3, 4.
And she lived how long?
She lived to be 15. She
Oh,
died in
okay.
2001.
Wow, 15.
Yeah.
Mm.
It
Wow.
was my senior year of high school. I was 18.
Wow, I like to dedicate this poem to you.
Oh.
This too shall pass. Though my heart is broken and my mind is numb, I know any day my change is going to come. Yesterday I was down and out and in the days, but I'm so glad I know trouble don't come to last always. And just when my lost faith came up found, the power of belief turned my world around. So with my faith as my life's long guide, I know in my soul that there is a brighter side. And because trouble don't always come to last, in my heart I know that this too shall pass.
Thank
The
you.
pain of it,
Yeah.
It's very painful, you
Yes.
know. So you were dealing with this as a young person.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm. So,
And-
no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and at the time, you look to your parents to supply what you need. And my father, at that point, he tried to do.
But he was devastated
Yes.
also. Yes.
So it was, we did live with my dad up until I was 11.
Okay.
After which, I went to live with my aunt, and my sister went to live with my aunt.
So your aunts raised you?
Yes, these were my mother's sisters that we went to live with.
Yes.
Then it got to be too much for my little sister, so then she went to foster care. And then I went into foster care.
Wow.
Then my father's sister came.
How long were you in foster care?
I was in foster care for about a year and a half. It was
So you weren't
middle
there that
school.
long?
Yeah.
Mm.
And then my dad's sister came. And
But, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, and then she raised me.
So, but as a young person being in foster care, I mean, what was that like?
A lot of
'Cause
times.
you don't always, as a child, you don't always understand the implications of all of that.
No, it was almost like I just went through the process. Because there's really nothing that you can do as a child to
Yes.
just go where they tell you to go.
Right, yeah, and do what they tell you to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just went through the process. Was like, okay. And luckily, my foster parent was around the corner from my aunt, my
Oh.
mother's sister.
Oh,
So they
okay,
lived in the
same neighborhood, yeah.
So it made
That
the
was a
process
blessing.
easy. Yes.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
Now, through this whole process, were there other relatives who, besides your aunts, who chipped in to help?
Yes. Right when my sister and I were taken from my father, we, for a couple weeks, went to stay with my grandfather.
Okay.
Because at this time, my grandmother had passed, my mother's mother, and then my grandfather kind of took me and my sister in for
Mhm.
a few weeks, just until they were able to place us.
Mm.
And so I remember my papa, he was very instrumental in just making sure we were okay.
Mm.
And
So, no, go ahead.
he was an elder himself, and
Mhm.
I always sing his praises, and I always grateful for that.
Mm. Yes, because you know it's painful for everybody.
Yes.
I mean, this is a traumatic experience you're writing about. When you were writing this book, were there things that, of course, how do I say that? Were there things that that made you feel like, I guess what I'm saying is, that, were there things that made you feel like this was destiny or something of that sort, or an experience like this? I don't even know how to approach it. I mean, you know, were there experiences that came back to you in the process of writing this book that made you feel like, you know, it's in divine order or anything like that?
You know, when everything that's kind of transpired,
Mhm.
I've never really felt like,
Mhm.
oh, this is in order it's supposed to be,
Yes.
because I'm the person in
In
the situation.
the story, yeah.
So it's harder for me to look at it that way,
Mhm.
because I grew up without my mother. I grew up without my older sister.
Mhm.
I grew up in a broken family that,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it just ended up being me and my dad, and he was
Mhm.
broken himself.
Yes.
Because he was scarred and he was dealing with his own issues.
Mhm.
So I never
So-
really thought that it was, and and for some people looking on the
Yes,
outside, it
mhm.
may seem like that, but it's like,
When you're on the inside looking out, it's different.
like, it doesn't feel like this was supposed to happen,
Mhm.
but,
Life
yeah.
happens to all of us. Yeah, it's that simple. Life
So-
happens. We've all lost someone, you know, and the pain of that. Yeah. So it's but this story you tell is just, and the way you tell it. I had to read the book. It's brilliant the way you tell it. And
Thank you.
your Aunt Barb was involved in the book.
Yes, she was my editor.
Oh, what's that like? As if I don't know.
Oh my goodness. It was a phenomenal experience. I remember years before this project came along,
Mhm.
my aunt always said to me, Stephanie, you should write a book, or you should write a book
Tell
about
your story.
life, or you should
Yeah.
tell your story. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's for me. And I was
Mhm.
like, well, maybe down the line. And so when it came about,
Mhm.
I wanted her to be a part of this project,
Mhm.
and so I asked her to be the editor.
Wow. Yeah. Mm. She's a good editor.
Yes.
Believe me, take it from me. She's a good editor. She
Yeah.
knows what she's doing.
Oh yeah, she knows her stuff.
And being an English teacher, you know, being an English major myself,
Yes,
you know.
yes, grammar and what you should say and what doesn't go with each other and all the rules.
She has a knack for that.
Yes, the
Yeah,
rules.
she has a knack for
Like,
that.
so,
Mhm.
she should write a book just
Well,
about the rules.
Yeah, just about the rules alone.
Yes,
And
yes.
what not to do.
Mhm.
And what not to, yeah. So where do you go from here? What would you like to do with this project?
Well, I want my story to
Mhm.
reach and help as many people as it can.
Mm-hmm.
I want this book to go as far as it can go.
Mm-hmm.
I
And don't tell them where it could go.
Yeah, sometimes I think, okay, I need to be pushing more of this, pushing more of that,
Mhm.
but I do believe God will open doors,
Mhm.
and you just have to be ready to go through the doors when the doors open.
Now let's talk about I want to talk about the cover, and then I want you, if you like, to do a reading.
Sure.
Okay. This beautiful cover that you have here, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And how did it come about? I mean, who's the author? Who's the designer?
Okay.
Graphic
so,
artist? Did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
As we take a look at this on the screen, I love this cover.
Thank you. So the publishing company had a hand in that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Mhm.
a person who loves both colors.
Mhm.
And so what we did was we looked at 4 to 5 different designs.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, let's take a look. And because I also love pink.
Mhm.
This,
Not pink and
cover-
green, is it? Oh, this pink.
no, I'm not an AKA.
Okay.
The cover, I loved it. I love the actual the road in the center.
Mhm.
I love that
Yeah,
it
that's
symbolizes
beautiful.
journey.
Mhm.
And of course the mountains kind of
Yeah.
symbolizes to
Wow.
me, and then the trees and everything,
Mhm.
a different type of journey.
Mhm.
So because it's not like it's a city
That is so.
skyline.
That's just so effective, though. When I first saw the cover and I walked in, I'm like, wow, that's different. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's just beautiful the way they hooked the graphics
Oh,
up
yeah.
with that, man. I
Yeah.
was just looking at it on the screen. That's, oh man. So who's the graphic artist on this one?
Well, it's one of the owner of the publishing company's
Okay.
team members.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so it's someone that's on his team.
What a team.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there was actually someone else's face on this book.
Mm. Okay.
And it was somebody with a swipe bang, and I was like, no. I said, well, let's try my face. Let's see what it looks like.
Oh, that's your face.
That's my face.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
we went with
It's
that.
your book. Why not be your
Right,
face?
Because I wanted
Shit.
my face, but I wasn't sure if I wanted the full face, and
Mhm.
so we kind of went this route, and I love the
Yeah,
colors.
it just the way it just it captures you.
Yes, it jumps
It,
out
it
at
jumps
me.
out at you. Yeah.
And because of the
The
colors,
colors.
and I say, that's it. Blue, that
Mhm.
wasn't working.
Mhm.
Anything but that I needed.
So when you saw it, you said, "Oh, don't need no more. This right now.
That's
Nope,
it.
this is it."
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and you knew it. You felt it in your spirit.
Yes. It's
Wow.
almost how I got the title of the book.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yes, I had been talking to the publishing company.
Mhm.
We had a meeting, and he was like, "Oh, well, let's brainstorm for titles."
Because the title is as important as anything else.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we brainstormed a few, and I was like, that's not it. So then I said to him, you know what? Let's wait, because this title of my book,
Mhm.
it just can't be anything, and the right title will come. So then, fast forward that evening, I'm just Googling, researching how do you pull a title, how do you, just different information.
Yes.
So then I go to get myself ready for a bed, and then I'm just kind of doing whatever, just getting ready, taking my clothes out for work, and out of nowhere it hits me, and I knew that was God.
Wow.
The title of my
Spirit.
book.
It just came to you.
Yes, because I had prayed to God. I said, God, please help me find a title for this book, and I knew it just couldn't be anything. And at maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I got it.
1,000 miles in my shoes.
And that
Wow.
was the title. The second part came later.
Mhm.
That's what was kind of like, it was a puzzle, putting that together.
Oh, okay.
The title itself, 1,000 Miles in My Shoes,
Mhm.
that-
And it just hit you.
yes.
And you settled on that.
And I knew it was it. I was like, that's it. Oh my gosh.
But the title of the book, it's like a marriage between the title of the book and the graphics on the cover. It just comes together. When I see that, I'm like, wow.
Yes.
Most appropriate title, and it just goes well with the graphics that we see here.
It really does.
Yes.
And that's the interesting thing, because sometimes you'll see a book and it doesn't necessarily mirror the title of the book.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I've seen that
Yeah.
many times. I said, well, this is the title, but the book it doesn't match. It has to be a correlation between the two.
I
It
agree.
really does. Yeah. I always say that all writing, whether it's poetry or whether it's literature, whether it's a short story, they always have to have a sense of rhythm to it. Every story has its own rhythm.
I
How did
agree.
you find your rhythm? When you started putting it together from those, when you first started with from the journaling,
Journaling.
how did you find your rhythm to put all that together?
I had this motivation to get it done.
Mhm.
So I would work on it.
Desire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I would work on it when I got off of work. I'd be at home. I'd be working on it in the evenings. Like, okay, do this, do this. There were certain parts of the book that was harder to revisit.
Mhm.
So sometimes
Because
I
of the
would
pain.
call, yes, because of
Okay.
the pain. So sometimes I would call my aunt. One of my aunts, actually my Aunt Barbara's younger sister. I
Okay.
would be called, it would be phone conversations between the two of them. And I would call them and I'd say, okay, I need for you to talk me through this. Or I'm having a rough time doing
Yeah.
this. And so it was a lot of that where I did not want to revisit certain parts of my past that were very hard for me.
And very painful.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was inspiration that came from the outside.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
inspiration that came from the outside, and my motivation and desire to get this done kind of kept me on, all right, let's go. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Wow, that's
So.
that's the beauty of it. Because you had help from family, and,
Yes.
and the spirit came down on you.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'm going to share this piece with
Sure.
you, and then I want you to think about doing a reading from the book.
Sure.
Wings of a Natural High. If you're not afraid to try, there ain't no way life can pass you by. Because when you know who you are, you can fly on the wings of the wind. But you got to know you got the power within. And so long as nothing beats a failure but a try, let me live my life on the wings of a natural high. I've been down, but I ain't never been out. And I've hit rock bottom more times and I've hit rock bottom more times than enough to think about. Somewhere beyond and above, the breath of life is God's gift of love. Through all pain, heartbreak, and strife, I'm simply hooked on the high of life. And so long as nothing beats a failure but a try, let me live my life on the wings of a natural high.
I like that.
Life is a natural high.
It's like being free like a bird.
Yes, it's like free like a bird. Matter of fact, I remember some years ago, I had a professor in school, and she always talked about the importance of reading. She said, Queen, she always called me Queen. She said, when you open up a book, it's like the wings of a bird, take you high you are. When you see it flapping like that, said take you to a higher realms and to places you may never visit in life. And that's the power of reading. That's the power of what you've done here. Please share with us
Okay. All right. Let's see.
on one of those chapters with those
Yes.
beautiful titles.
Let's see which one of these chapters.
Wherever you might want to start is fine, really.
Sure.
This is beautiful. And I love the way that you express yourself, because I can see I can see the smile and I can see the energy that comes across your face when you talk about your process of going through this. And that's the beauty of it all, really. And I really, really appreciate that. Your effort in bringing forth a book like this, because you had to go through a lot, you know. You were only 5 years old when it happened. So
Exactly.
so I'm sure there's a lot of memories that come forth. So you ready?
Let's see.
Wherever you want to start.
You know what?
What's
I'm
that?
gonna start here.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what's the name of this chapter?
So the name of this chapter is called, it's chapter 7. It's called A Kiss from a Rose.
Oh, who's that
And
by?
So this is by the artist Seal.
Oh, okay.
So he's kind of an old school artist, not sure
Yeah.
if he's still doing much. So
As Rita said, roll is still a rose.
yes, exactly. So that's another great one. At the beginning it says, a permanent reminder. I look in the mirror and I am reminded of a permanent thing. A dividing line that separates the north from the south and the east from the west. A parallel line that separates good from evil, and a permanent fixture which remains day after day. I stare at the scar on my forehead. It looks the same as if it looked yesterday and the day before, and the day before that. It is permanent. That scar and the scars on my legs are forever reminders of the night of October 28th, 1987, and the tragic accident which forever changed my life. For years, this scar affected my self-esteem. The pain I felt when children were cruel to me at school and would call me Scarface. The names they called me were unbearable. They didn't know my story. I've tried to hide this scar for more than 3 decades. I have worn scarves and hats to try to conceal a portion of my face. I've tried makeup of even different hairstyles. However, nothing seemed to change this permanent scar on my face. I have pondered this scar for a long time. What do people think? What will people say? What does it look like to them? Can it be removed? Should I remove it? Will I look the same? Will I look better or will I look worse? How will I ultimately feel? Well, removing it helped my self-esteem. After all these questions, I asked myself the ultimate and most important question. Will it remove the last 30 years of my life? I concluded that this scar on my face, as well as the scars on my legs, tell a story about my life. Without me ever uttering a word, it tells a story about my mother and my sister and their deaths. It talks about my little sister Brittany and my dad. Pain, loss, anger, sadness, emptiness, struggle, and endurance are the components of this scar which I deem not so gorgeous. Although I think about the scar, no one asks me about it. Only when I point it out to people do they actually really see it. I am very self-conscious about my scars. Sometimes I hate taking photos. Sometimes I'm embarrassed, and I will take several photos just to kind of take them from different angles. Perhaps I should view my scars as kisses from God. He spared my life and left me here to remind someone that despite trials and tribulations, he will help you to endure loss and pain.
That's beautiful, sister.
Thank you.
That is so beautiful how you express that.
Thank you.
If you don't love you for the love of self, until you first learn to love self, you will never know what it is to love somebody else. And those little things can mean a lot. How can you get what you haven't got? Until you take the power of your soul to mind, matters of the heart are just a waste of time. And when you don't have the slightest clue, how can you love anybody if you don't love?
It's 1 o'clock.
So I thank you for that beautiful piece.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to read it. That was
Yeah, you read very well.
Thank
read
you.
Beautifully well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you have the voice for it. Yes.
Thank you.
Very, very calming. Very calming, and the way you approach it is soothing.
Thank you.
And I could tell you put a lot into it.
I did.
Yes. So with that piece there, I just felt like you took me there. You know, for you, this book I guess has been it's art and life. It's life imitating art and art imitating life because of real situations, real people.
Exactly.
In real situations that we go through, that we all go through. You know, life happens to all of us. It really does, Stephanie. And I thank you for sharing the piece. For people who like to get in touch with you,
Yes.
how can we do that?
Okay. So if you would like to learn more about my book, you can get it at www.stephaniecwhite.com. That's www.stephanie, STEPHANIE, White, WHITE.com.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, also, let's talk about your work. You do event planning as well.
Yes. Yes, I am the lead event coordinator and manager of my own event planning company in the Washington,
Okay.
D.C. area called Stephanie White Events, LLC.
Okay.
I've been in business since 2006.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. How long have you been doing this?
Since I was 23.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, I used to work in law
You enjoy it?
enforcement. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I enjoy catering to people on their special day, the day of their event.
What kind of events?
Well, I do weddings.
Divorces too?
I've had requests for divorce parties.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I'm real now. I'm keeping it real now. People do have divorce parties.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Mhm.
So I've done weddings.
They call it the divorce happy hour.
There you go. That's a nice way of saying it. So,
Yeah. No. What other events you do, really?
I do anniversary parties,
Oh,
milestone
okay.
anniversary parties, birthday parties. I do fashion shows.
Oh, wow. You do it all. Retirement?
Yes, retirement parties. I actually have 2 signature events that I put on for my business. My spring wedding extravaganza, bridal expo, and bridal fashion show.
Oh, wow. You do
So
it all.
That's one of my annual events, and then the Night to Remember fundraiser gala to benefit Kennedy Prager Institute.
So how'd you get into event planning?
You know,
With the writing and all.
when I first moved to this area after I graduated undergrad,
What area did you come from?
Salisbury, Maryland. So the
Where is
Eastern
that?
Shore, it's about 2.5 hours away from here. It's
Across
over
the Bay, across the Bay
Yes.
Bridge? That's about 300 miles from food and water, y'all.
So it's nice, quiet area. The beaches.
So
down
yeah,
there.
somebody asked you, what's it like over there? I've never been to. There's some counties in Maryland I've never been to. And what's the name of the county you?
Wycomico County.
Wycomico.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Wycomico
Okay.
County. It's
And that's in the state of Maryland, y'all.
Yes, yes. So it's very quiet.
Laid back.
Yeah, laid back, but not as laid back as the town is 20 minutes from them.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's more of a faster pace. We have about 3 high schools.
Oh, you do?
So,
Okay.
it's country living, quiet.
Now, what's country living like in comparison to like an area like this here in PG County where it's,
Traffic
Yeah.
is slower.
it is?
And I always forget
Life
that
is slower.
when I go down there.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, all right, you guys, let's go.
So you used to being here.
Yes, faster pace.
Like, come on, get out, come on,
And
get
then
on out
I
the
have
way.
to remember where I am. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you are in Salisbury.
Right. You're not in D.C. or
I'm
Peter.
like, oh my gosh. But, it's always nice to go home
Mm-hmm.
to see family.
Yes.
And
You have a
then-
lot of family there.
I do, because my
Mhm.
family is from the Eastern
Mhm.
Shore, and so
Is that inspiration for you when you go back home across the bridge? Because life is totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to go home and see family.
Mm-hmm.
So it
It's a
inspires
different
me to
vibe.
go down there.
Yeah.
To see my family and to see people I haven't seen in a while. But
Wow.
when it's
Mm-hmm.
time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And then you come back to your life.
You can always come back
Yeah.
home though. Yeah. No
But
matter where you go.
there's a lot of water. down
Yeah, I'm
there.
sure of that.
I mean, I like there's this place in Cambridge called the Hyatt, and it sits right there on the water.
Oh,
It's
really?
gorgeous.
Wow.
So.
But not just that. I'm sure the way people are, because you say slow, I'm sure it's a different kind of vibe.
Yeah,
with people.
I didn't realize the type of vibe that it was until after I left,
Mm-hmm.
after undergrad, and then moved up here, and then went back just to kind of visit, and I was like,
Mhm.
people speak to you a little bit more, and up here, everybody's like, all right, let's go.
Really?
And you get used to that.
What kind of things they say?
Just a regular good morning. I don't think it's really anything out of the norm.
Norm, yeah.
And it was something that I started paying attention
More
to.
courtesy, in
Yeah.
that sense.
Yeah.
You can hold a door for a lady, and people
Exactly.
won't think that's unusual.
Exactly.
Yes. Mhm.
And, yeah. So I
Mhm.
would say that it's,
But that's part of your upbringing too, though.
yes.
Now, what about nowadays? Do you see that in people nowadays
I
who?
will say it really depends on where you go.
Mm, yeah, depends on where you
Yeah,
are.
it
of
really
course.
does.
Yes.
Because I lived in PG County for 11 years.
Mhm.
And so, of course, I was used to everything in Prince George's County. Like, I went to the AME church.
Okay.
Everybody was nice, but everybody was always on a mission.
All the time.
Always on a
Yeah,
mission.
that's
And I was
true.
like, okay, all right. So you fall in
Mm.
place, and you
Wow.
you do the same thing.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because now try New York City. Whole different kind of vibration.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You've been to places like New York.
Yes, and I actually really do like New York.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Well, I
the
like
fast
New York
pace,
too.
like, all right.
I just don't want to live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love New York. Many times I've been in New York, but I wouldn't want to live there. It's too many people.
Because at the end of the day, I do like my home environment to be quiet.
Mm-hmm. Peaceful.
Yeah, I would
Serene.
like peace.
Yes.
Especially when I'm like gone 24/7. I need for it to be peaceful.
Mm. So you can come home and unwind.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, are there other projects that you have planned in terms of writing?
Yes, I'm actually working on another book.
Oh,
I started writing,
Do say.
taking notes January
Mhm.
1st.
okay.
And this book, I want to focus more on the correlation between children
Mm-hmm.
and their parents
Okay.
and the effect it has on their adult relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take a look at that, because I believe that it's important that sometimes parents raise their kids the best that they know how, but they have
That's
no
true.
idea what they do to your children when they're kids has a big effect on how they function as an adult in other relationships.
But it's interesting you say that, because as a child growing up, you don't know the kind of relationship that your parents have with each other.
No.
You don't really, children don't know that.
No, and parents don't understand that how you react or how you cater to little Bobby
Mm-hmm.
affects how he treats women when he grows up.
Yeah, that's very important that you said that, and the direct correlation to how he treats his other siblings, if there
Yes.
be other siblings.
Exactly.
Yes. What is the father relating to the son, or the daughter relating to the father, or however, whatever the situation may be? Yeah, that's true. Why would you say that?
Well, because I think back to my relationship with my father.
Mhm.
And in the book, I talk about how I had to forgive him over and over again
Oh, why?
for what he didn't do when I was a child. And
But being a child, you didn't understand why he didn't
I
do certain
didn't.
things.
And it wasn't, there's a point in the book where my father and I come to we have a heart-to-heart moment where, for once, I feel like my dad was telling me the truth about certain items I have asked him in the past, and he's denied.
Well, you think maybe because it wasn't time?
I
Because your
think
age?
that it wasn't. You know what? Because I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And might have been early 30s, but
Mm-hmm.
timing.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to look at my father
Mm-hmm.
as someone who also was hurt.
Hey,
Someone
that's
who
what I
was
was thinking.
probably still ridiculed by
Mhm.
people for something that happened 30 years ago.
Wow. Mm. And so that affects your relationship.
It does
Yeah.
because it's affected my adult relationships. I'm
Mhm.
not so open to
Mhm.
meet people. I'm not so open to start relationships with people because my tolerance it's very
Small
slim.
tolerance, yeah.
And sometimes I look at other people like, oh, you're my dad, and my respect at the time
Mhm.
for my father was like, so that's how I treated men. I
Wow.
was like, all right,
Next.
whatever. Yeah. So that's
Yeah, it's the honesty coming out now, girl.
yeah. And so
Like, it ain't gonna happen.
yeah, I'm like, okay, can I help you? You know, that type of thing. Like, and it all stemmed from the
Your
relationship I
that you
had with my dad.
Or didn't have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or didn't have, because then my
Because
trust.
your trust, but that's your first, for a young lady, that's your
Yeah.
first example of what a man should be like.
Exactly.
That's the guy.
Exactly.
So if something wrong with the guy, you be like, okay. So it's like you're on a boat and the rudder is not there. It can't keep you balanced. So you go,
Yes.
yeah, I can understand. Because as a man, my first relationship, or my first example of what a woman should be like probably came from my mom.
Exactly.
But then again, we had 10 in our family too, so I ain't get that much time. So,
So it was like, so I'm very interested in looking at more of the correlation because as I begin to speak with people and talk with other people that I know, people begin to say to me, Stephanie, yes, your mother's not here, but my mother's here and I don't have a relationship with her. Or my mother's here and she never took care of me because she was busy dealing
with what she was
something
dealing
else.
with.
Yes.
Yes. So relationships.
Yes, I really want to take a look at relationships, and that would probably involve maybe even interviewing people or just kind of, just a few interviews within the book. But I think it's important that, like, parents recognize that.
The relationships you build.
Yes.
Because you have to build a relationship with people. You really
Yes.
do. Whether it's someone you're interested in a romantic way or just community, it's good to build relationships with people. It really is. And you have to build a relationship with people.
Exactly.
On some level, you got to build relationships because that's how everything works. That's the way of the world. Everything
Exactly.
works on some kind of relationship to build with people. This brings me to this piece here, Black Family. We are all a part of the Master's plan, brothers and sisters in the family of man. I am you and you are me. We are all of the same life tree. And whether you like it or not, you and me is all we've got. Black family. Family.
Wow.
Yes. Family is so important.
You're right. Somebody asked me the question the other day, do you feel like as a people we're better off today than we were back then, or do you feel like we're better off as a people? And I had to ask myself, you know what? That's a yes and no question. Because I feel like the family unit and structure was so much stronger back then than it is now.
In a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think we can't talk about black on black relationships without talking about and without thinking about how the society as a whole, how white supremacy has affected our lives and our relationships to each other. We can't talk about it without bringing that, because that's a big factor
Yes.
in the way we were raised and what has been passed down to us as a people. So racism and all of that affects everything. Now, that's not to say that some people won't use that as a crutch, no. But
Exactly.
we're not, as a people, we're not monolithic. We all don't think alike, but it affects everything that we've done. Being African Americans living in this country, relationships brings us back to relationships and the impact that has had on us as a people. But we rise above everything.
I agree.
The best of the best,
Yes.
And I thank you for bringing that up, because that's so very important. And so this person said that to you.
Yeah, and I had to say that, I feel like in some circumstances we are better today as a people in terms of
Yes.
opportunities we have and the connections we can make, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as our family,
Yes.
I just feel like we're not as strong as we used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we have the whole crabs in the barrel mentality going on.
Yeah, that's going on,
And that
of
it's
course.
harder for us to see
Mhm.
our brothers and sisters rise or,
Mhm.
go to the next level because,
Mhm.
we tend to get jealous. So we don't want to see the next person go to the next level. And I think
It's
that,
detrimental.
yeah,
Yeah. But the thing is, if somebody come around and knock me down on the ground, and they come back a week later, and I'm still laying there on the ground, it's up to you to get up. I remember the great motivator, Les Brown, used to say, if I fall, I pray that I fall on my back, because if I can look up, I can get up. And that's the attitude we need to have, to keep getting up. And sometimes you got to inspire yourself, Stephanie.
yes.
Sometimes you have to inspire yourself. I'm sure you have to inspire yourself to do what you're doing and been successful at it.
Yes, it's like I feel like I'm striving and I'm pushing towards something, and people always they see the accolades or whatever or the success, but they
Yes.
don't know how much work
They don't know the process.
that I'm putting in and
Yeah.
I'm pushing and I'm striving and I'm still
Yes.
trying to make it.
And I admire you, but I am so proud of you. Let me say that right now. I'm so proud of you because what you've accomplished. I'm so proud of you because your Aunt Barb had told me about you a long time ago. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And she would tell me the story about how, what had happened, with your family and the story that you wrote about. And I was like, and she's like, well, she actually wrote a book. I'm like, what? And I'm like, I would like to talk to her on this show. And
Thank you.
so the world can know this story,
Thank you.
And so it's just beautiful. It really is. I'm proud of you because of this book, and I'm proud of you because other things that you've done and accomplished in life. So once again, where can we get the book? How
Yes.
can we reach you?
Yes.
People who may want to have you to come and speak, how can we do that?
Okay, yes. You can get my book at www.stephaniecwhite.com. That's Stephanie, STEPHANIE, C, White, WHITE. And if you want to book me for engagements, you can reach me at email admin@stephaniewhiteevents.com. You can also check out my website at www.stephaniewhiteevents.com. And you can reach me via phone at 410-430-7534. That's 410-430-7534. My event planning website again
Yes.
is www.stephaniewhiteevents.com. And my email address is admin@stephaniewhiteevents.com.
We've been talking to the lovely Miss Stephanie White, and her book is entitled 1,000 Miles in My Shoes. And we thank you. We look forward to you coming back again to share with us, Stephanie. It's been beautiful. I'm Poet Danny Queen. This is Color Me Poetry. Until next time, Color Me Poetry. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, sister, for coming.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Done.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
But you didn't play my music.
And
What happened?
My bad.
Because when you start, maybe you don't know this, but when Stephanie and I do it,